dear students, today we will learn about boundary value problems with linear dielectrics. Okay, we already learned about boundary conditions in the case of electric fields and in the case of electric displacement vector. Okay, now we can extend these concepts to the case of linear dielectric. Okay, we already learned about dielectric materials and linear dielectric, and suppose we have a homogeneous linear dielectric medium. Okay, consider a homogeneous isotropic linear dielectric. Okay, so the medium, the dielectric medium is homogeneous, isotropic and linear. Homogeneous means the dielectric medium has same property in all position. Isotropic means it has same property in all directions. Okay, and the medium is linear also. We learned that if the polarization is proportional to electric field, then the material dielectric is called linear dielectric. Okay, now in this context we assume a dielectric medium such that it is homogeneous, isotropic and linear. Okay, and we already learned about bound charge density. Okay, the bound charge density in this medium, in this dielectric medium, is given by minus del dot P, where this P is the polarization. Okay, we already learned about polarization, and we learned that in the case of linear dielectric, this polarization is given by epsilon 0 chi e e. Okay, here you can see that this polarization is proportional to electric field, so it is called linear. Okay, so P equal to epsilon 0 chi e e, where E is the electric susceptibility, and if you replace this electric field with its electric displacement vector, this equation takes the new form d by epsilon. Okay, this epsilon 0 by epsilon is inverse of dielectric constant. Okay, so you will see that here the polarization is given by chi e d by epsilon r. Okay, epsilon r is the dielectric constant. Epsilon by epsilon 0 is called epsilon r. We learned about this in our previous class. Okay, so you can substitute for this dielectric constant, then you get this as chi e d by 1 plus chi e. Okay, dielectric constant is equal to 1 plus chi e. Okay, now this is the polarization in the case of a linear dielectric. You can substitute this expression for polarization in order to get the bound charge density. Okay, so the bound charge density rho b equal to minus del dot p. P is replaced with this term, so you have chi e d by 1 plus chi e. Okay, here the electric susceptibility in the case of homogeneous isotropic dielectric, this electric susceptibility is a constant, and you can take the terms outside, so you get here minus chi e by 1 plus chi e del dot d. Okay, del dot d is given by rho f, is free charge density. So you can write this as minus chi e by 1 plus chi e into rho f. charge density rho b. This is the bound charge density rho b. Okay, the bound charge density rho b is connected with the free charge density rho f by this expression. Okay, and suppose that there is no free charge inside the dielectric. Okay, then what happens? If there is no free charge inside the dielectric, then this rho f equal to 0. This rho f equal to 0 means rho b also equal to 0. Okay, that means any charge inside the dielectric, any charge on the dielectric stays on the surface. There is no volume charge density. Okay, so in this context, if this rho f equal to 0, for rho f equal to 0, that means no free charges inside the dielectric, then the corresponding bound charge density is also 0, which implies that the charges resides on the surface. Okay, charges reside on the surface. Okay, so in the case of homogeneous isotropic linear dielectric, the bound, if there is no free charge inside the dielectric, it leads to the accumulation of the charge on the surface of the dielectric. Only surface charge density is there. There is no charge inside the material, and so the bound charge density should be 0. Okay. Now we can extend these concepts to the case of a boundary conditions. The boundary condition is given by epsilon above, electric field above with perpendicular component for normal to the surface minus epsilon below with normal component of below electric field is discontinuous by an amount sigma f. We already learned about this in our previous class when we discussed about electric displacement vector. Okay, this is the electric displacement vector when the boundary of two dielectric media. You can write this expression like this. This is the boundary condition for electric displacement vector, or in terms of electric field you can write this like this. So the electric displacement vector is discontinuous by an amount sigma f, where sigma f is the free charge density. Okay. Now we can extend this in terms of potential. We can write this equation in terms of potential. That means you can write this as epsilon above dou v by dou n, v above. Okay, dou v above dou n minus epsilon below dou v below by dou n is equal to minus sigma f. Okay, this is in terms of potential. From where we get this? Because you know that electric field is minus gradient v. V is the potential. Using that expression, you can write this in like this. Okay, so v above by dou n, dou v above by dou n minus dou v below by dou n is equal to minus sigma f. This is the another, in terms of potential, you can write this expression like this. Okay. At the same time, potential is continuous on the boundary. V above is always equal to V below. That means potential is continuous. But electric displacement vector or electric field is discontinuous by an amount surface charge density sigma f. Okay. Hope that you understand these boundary conditions very well. Here we discussed about the boundary between two dielectrics or between two mediums with dielectric constants epsilon above and epsilon below. Okay, so epsilon above, E above perpendicular electric field at that medium with normal component, and here epsilon below means the medium with dielectric constant epsilon below, and the electric field, normal component of electric field there, discontinuous by an amount, the free surface charge density sigma f. Okay, we can write the same equation in terms of potential like this, and the potential itself is continuous across the boundary. That means V above equal to V below. Okay. Now we will learn about energy in dielectric systems. Okay. Energy in dielectric systems. So, now to charge a capacitor, we have to do work. Okay, so here the work done to charge a capacitor is given by half CV square. We learned this expression in the chapter electrostatics. Okay, so the energy required or energy stored in the capacitor or work done to charge the capacitor is given by this expression half CV square, where C is capacitance. Okay. Now, if the capacitor is filled with a dielectric, okay, then the capacitance is increased by an amount epsilon r. Okay. Where C vacuum is the capacitance in vacuum. Okay. So the capacitance in vacuum, then the epsilon r times the capacitance in the vacuum is given by the dielectric field capacitor. Okay, the capacitance of a dielectric field capacitor is increased by an amount epsilon r. Okay, but because we know that if we want to charge a capacitor, if we try to push charges to the capacitor, the bound charges inside the dielectric try to cancel it. So we have to do more work. Okay, so the work, we have to do more work such that epsilon r times the previous work required, the absence of dielectric. Okay, so we can write here the energy, electrostatic energy, as given by half epsilon 0 integral E square d tau. Okay, and in this context, that means in the case of a medium with dielectric constant epsilon r, this must be replaced with the expression half epsilon 0 integral epsilon r E square d tau. Because we already see that or discussed that if there is a dielectric, we have to do more work because the bound charges inside the dielectric try to cancel out the charge, the applied charge applied field. Okay, so we have to do more work to add this much charges. So the amount of that work required is always exceeds by an amount epsilon r. Okay, now we can rewrite this equation. This is equal to half into integral epsilon r, epsilon by epsilon 0 cancels out, and so we have epsilon e dot e d tau, or half integral d dot e d tau. Okay, so the energy in the absence of dielectric is given by this expression, half epsilon 0 integral e square d tau. But in the case of a dielectric medium, if the dielectric is homogeneous, isotropic and linear, is given by this expression, half integral d dot e d tau. Okay, so there are two equations for energy. There are two equations for energy. They are W equal to half epsilon 0 integral e square d tau, and in the presence of dielectric, W equal to half integral d dot e d tau. The presence of linear dielectric. Okay. This is valid only for linear dielectric, d dot e d tau. These two equations are the difference between these are, in this case it consider only the work required to assemble the free charges. In this expression there is no terms including the stretching of dielectric molecules. Okay, but in this case, this term includes all types of polarization or the stretching of the dielectric molecules. Okay, so this expression is valid for linear dielectric. Okay. I think you understand these two equations very well. In this case, we assume only on the free charges, on the charges bringing to the dielectric material and the corresponding energy. But in this context, it includes the stretching of the molecules inside the dielectric, the work required to stretch the molecules inside the dielectric. So, this is valid for linear dielectric. Okay, forces on dielectric. Okay, forces on dielectric. So here, in order to find out the forces acting on a dielectric material, we can consider a parallel plate capacitor. Okay. Now, there is a dielectric slab inserting partially into this parallel plate capacitor. Okay, in between the parallel plates of the capacitor. So I think I can draw here the figure like this. Okay, and somewhere here there are parallel plates. Capacitors. Okay, and these are the plates These are the plates, parallel plates with width W and separation D. Inside this dielectric, inside this parallel plate capacitor, there is a dielectric slab. Okay, dielectric slab inserting into this capacitor. Okay. Suppose this distance is given by x. Okay, this is our system. Now, we assume parallel plate capacitor. There are two parallel plate conductors like this. In between these parallel plates, there is a dielectric slab inserting into this capacitor, in between these parallel plates. Okay, this dielectric slab is partially filled. Okay, this is the system. Okay, so in our system, there are parallel plates with the width W and separation between the plates is D. Between the plates B, D. Okay, this is the width of the plates and this is the separation between the plates D. Okay, now there is a dielectric slab inserting into this, in between these parallel plates, partially. That is, the dielectric slab inserting up to a distance x from its bottom. Okay, suppose L is the length of the plates. Okay, L be the length of the parallel plates. Length of the plates. Okay. Now, suppose that we pull out this dielectric slab by an amount dx. Okay. So we have to do work to pull out this dielectric by an amount dx. Okay. So the work required to pull out the dielectric slab by an amount dx is given by F applied dot dx. Okay, Fa dx. Fa means applied force into the displacement. How much displacement? Dx displacement. This applied force is equal and opposite to the force on the dielectric. That means this parallel plate capacitor, these two parallel plates exert a force on the dielectric slab. If we apply the force equal to this much amount, equal to greater than this much amount, then only we can move this slab by an amount dx. Okay? That means this applied force Fa is equal to minus F. Okay? This, where this F is given by, what is F? F is electrical force on the dielectric. Okay, electric force on dielectric. this dW equal to minus F dx, or this implies that the electric force on the dielectric F is equal to minus dW by dx. Okay, so the electric force on the dielectric is given by minus dW by dx. Now, what is W? We already know that the work done to charge a capacitor is given by half CV square. Okay, in this expression, we can write this expression by replacing with charge Q. Okay, so you can write here this is equal to, if you substitute write this equation in terms of Q, you can see that half Q square by C. Okay, Q equal to CV, so you can write this equation as half Q square by C. Okay, now we can keep this charge on the capacitor as a constant. Okay, treating Q as a constant, you can find out dW by dx. Okay, let Q is a constant. Okay, Q is a constant. Then what happened? dW by dx is equal to dW by dx is equal to minus Q square by 2 into C square dC by dx. Okay, here we treat this Q as a constant. Okay, so you get here, what is this expression? We already see that Q by C is V, so you can write this expression as force F equal to minus dW by dx equal to half Q square by C square dC by dx. Okay, half Q square by C square dC by dx. Okay, so here we, in order to treat this potential V as a constant, we treat Q as a constant, because we know that if you want to need the potential to keep at a constant, we have to apply some voltage or battery to keep this potential equal. So we have to add another work done term to compensate this charging by battery. Okay, so instead of that, we use in terms of charge Q, we can keep Q as constant, and in terms of Q, you can write this force, electric force on the dielectric as half Q square by C square dC by dx. Okay, now what is capacitance of this system? The capacitance of the system with the dielectric, partially filled dielectric, is given by epsilon 0 W by D into epsilon R L minus chi E X. We know that the capacitance of a capacitor with a partially filled dielectric, the dielectric constant epsilon R, is given by this expression. Here L is the length of the parallel plate capacitor, W is its width, D is the distance between the parallel plates. Okay, chi is the corresponding electric susceptibility. Now, this is the capacitance. From this expression, we can find out dC by dx. Okay, so dC by dx equal to, if you differentiate this term, you can see that there is no x dependence for this term, only this term. So you have here minus epsilon 0 W chi E by d. Okay, this is dC by dx. That means the electric force F, which is given by half q square by c square dC by dx. Okay, dC by dx. From here we can see that dC by dx equal to minus epsilon 0 W chi E by d. You can write this as minus epsilon 0 W chi E by d V square. Okay, Q by C is V, and this is the force acting on a dielectric. The force acting on the dielectric such that the force pull this dielectric into the capacitor. Okay, the force is along the negative x direction. The dielectric is pulling towards inside the capacitor, inside the parallel plate capacitor. While we deriving this expression, we assume that the charge on the capacitor is constant. Okay, instead of potential. But if you treat that potential is constant, what happens to the equation? That is what we want to check. Okay, so we can calculate energy. We know that W equal to half C V square. Okay, and suppose that we use this expression to find out F. We know that F equal to minus dW by dx. Okay, so for evaluating this, we have, suppose that we use this equation. For that, we assume that potential is constant. Okay, so we can find out from here dW by dx equal to half V square dC by dx. Okay, so force equal to minus dW by dx equal to minus half V square dC by dx. Okay, here you can see that there is a sign, a negative sign. Okay, so here you can see that there is a sign, change here, sign, negative sign, as our previous expression, if you use the previous expression. This error occurs because of the work done. Here, in order to maintain potential as a constant, we have to use a battery. Okay, in that conduct, and in this expression you can see that the electric force, we obtain this electric force with an opposite sign as we already obtained. There is some problem with this sign. Okay, so to rectify this situation, we have to think that in order to keep a capacitor with a constant potential, we have to supply voltage by a battery. Okay, then only it can hold its potential constant. That means battery should do some work on this capacitor. So that means the work done is given by applied force into dx plus the work done by the battery. Okay, here this applied force is, we already see that this applied force is always equal and opposite to the electric force. So minus F dx plus V dq. Now you can write this expression minus dw by dx. This is our electric force minus dw by dx. This is equal to minus dw by dx equal to minus F plus V dq, which implies that electric force F equal to minus dw by dx plus V dq. Okay, and we see that this part minus dw by dx is given by minus half V square dc by dx. Okay, along with this, there is the work done by V dq. Okay, Q equal to CV, that means V square dc by dx. Okay, this is equal to V square dc by dx. So what we get here, the electric force acting on the dielectric is given by half V square dc by dx. Okay, this is the electric force acting on a dielectric. Okay, so these are the important concepts in this chapter, electric fields in matter. Okay, so I think I can wind up here. In this portion, we find out the force acting on a dielectric. Okay, for that we assume a parallel plate capacitor in which we insert a dielectric. Okay, this dielectric is partially filled in between the parallel plates. Okay, these parallel plates have dimensions with W, length L, and the separation between the plates small d. Okay, then we think that if we apply a force on the dielectric to pull it out by a distance dx is given by the applied force into dx. This applied force should be equal and opposite to the pull towards due to the force on the dielectric. Okay, so from this we can find out the electric force on the dielectric. Okay, for that we use the work done for forming a capacitor, W equal to half CV square. Then we assume also that the potential is, in order to keep the potential constant, we have to apply a voltage by a battery. So instead of that, we use a constant charge Q. Using this expression, you can find out the force, electric force acting on a dielectric. Okay. So in this lecture, we learned about boundary conditions boundary conditions on a dielectric. What happens to an electric vector or displacement vector when it appears a boundary between two media. Okay, then we extend our studies to energy inside a dielectric. Then we see that electrostatic energy. Electric energy is usually given by half epsilon 0 integral E square d tau. But in the case of linear dielectric, this equation is replaced with half d dot E d tau. Okay. Then we think about the difference between these two equations. What are the difference between the electrostatic expression for electrostatic energy and the electric energy in the case of dielectric? Okay. Then we extend our study to the case of force on dielectric as we discussed here. Okay. So, hope that you get basic concepts connecting with homogeneous, isotropic, linear dielectric. Okay. So, learn well. Thank you.